college tuition has increased 1,120% from 1978 to 2010, more than any other good or service in the United States. And at the end of 2013, student loan debt exceeded $1 trillion. How do they pay that back?
Well, most people pay it back, and they pay
do.
it back with jobs that they get because they're college educated. The people who don't pay it back are usually the folks that didn't graduate. And it's a really interesting conundrum that the people with the most debt are actually not the people in default. The people with the least debt are usually the people that are in default on their student loans because they didn't graduate and don't have a college degree to pay it back.
What do we do with that problem?
Well, I suggest a whole lot of things. You know, I think that there needs to be a lot more discipline about tuition increases, particularly at public institutions that are there to serve the public and populations in states. A lot of times, those public institutions are raising their prices because of cuts in state funding. So there's discipline that needs to be imposed all across the board. I think that for student loans, what I would like to see is bankruptcy protection, because I think that students need to be able to write off the results of a terrible mistake. In the case that Zakiev referred to, which Corinthian colleges, you know, you've got a federal government suing these colleges because they've broken their promises to so many students, but those students are still on the hook for the loans that they borrowed to go to that school.
So
Sorry.
I think that it's useful to keep in mind that a lot of the problem with student debt is in and around the proprietary sector in places like Corinthian that don't deliver, and exactly in the sector of people that don't get the degree. But I think we have to be very, very careful as we approach this, that we don't press down on quality. That's the one thing. I'm all in favor of efficiencies and keeping costs as low as possible. In fact, I want to, so I can attract more students, because the students are very tuition conscious. Okay, so if you're in a competitive market for those students, you want to keep your price down as much as possible. So we cut 20% of our administrative costs over a 5-year period at NYU, and we are able to put that money into financial aid.
How do our college graduates, Gene, stack up against college graduates in other countries? I keep hearing how, you know, if Germans do better or
it really depends.
Swiss do better. How do we know?
It depends on the field that you are trying to enter, because those rankings are kind of all across the board. But can I just jump back to something that you said a moment ago? When it comes to that student debt, the other thing that we need to keep in mind is that students need to be smart, A, about borrowing, but B, about repayment. And we see an awful lot of people who don't exhaust their eligibility to take out federal loans at lower rates because they're not educated, because they don't know, because we don't talk to them about these things.
Because the FAFSA form has 105 questions on it.
Yes, absolutely. And when they're paying it back, if they have those federal loans, there are a number of different repayment plans, and we don't see them taking advantage of them to the degree that they could. There is at least some relief out there, but you gotta look for it.
And the big idea here is something that the administration has actually fostered, and that is what's called income-based or income-contingent repayment programs, where you get into the best place you can get into. You get a government loan to go to that place that enables you to go there when it's combined with the financial grants that the place will give you. And then your repayments on your loans are never more than 10% of your discretionary income above a certain basic.
So you pay back based on your income and not necessarily how much you took out. It may take you longer to pay back, but if your first job out of college isn't the greatest, then you're not stuck with high student loan.
Is a student loan easy to get?
Very.
Yes.
Very.
Mm-hmm. Yes. There's no credit check on government loans.
Banks do this or the government?
The government now does it. It used to be that banks would give the loans and the government would subsidize the bank.
Watch new episodes of Larry King Now, Monday through Thursday, on demand on Hulu and Aura.tv.